everyone! So I'm back again, and this time with some crafts. So the first thing is these beaded rings, and I saw them on Pinterest and Etsy, but the colors are a little too like Visco Girl and preschool-ish vibes. So I got these beads, which are from Dollar Tree, and the beads in this container are all from Dollar Tree except that pearl beads and those clear smaller ones, but the rest of them are from Dollar Tree and the colors are pretty good. These pearl beads are from Hobby Lobby, but you can probably get them at any local craft store. And then this string, which is very thin and clear, so you can probably use fishing wire instead if you have that laying around. And then lastly is some super glue. Okay, so the instructions are pretty simple and they're easy enough to follow, but it looks a lot harder than it actually is. So the first thing you're going to do is take some of that very thin string, and you're going to, don't cut off the end of it from the rest of the spool. You're going to leave a tail about 6 inches long on it without cutting it off. And then you're going to insert 4 beads, which are the colors of the flower petals. So just insert them into that end of the string. And then you're going to add 1 bead that is the color of the center of your flower. And here is the harder part. It's not that hard. So you insert the end of the string back into the very first bead you put on there. And then you're just going to pull it through so it kind of loops back over itself. And there is 2/3 of your flower done. And then you're going to add 2 more of your petal colored beads. And then you're going to insert the string back into the first petal colored bead. It's usually to the left of your pearl bead, or whichever bead you're using for the center of your flower. And that completes 1 flower. Then you're going to do whatever design you want in between the flowers. I'm just adding 1 clear bead and then repeating that. For me, it takes about 6 to 7 flowers to go around my index finger. And if you didn't understand any of that, here are some instructions that you can use. So here is how it should look. And I'm showing here that the number of flowers that you have to make may vary depend on the size of the bead you're using and stuff like that. So you're just going to cut off the end of the string that you didn't cut at the beginning. Then you're going to knot it about 3 to 4 times to make sure it doesn't come apart. And then add a drop of super glue so it really doesn't come apart when you're wearing it or something like that. And then I'm holding the beads apart a little bit to make sure the beads don't get stuck together because of the super glue. And here is how it turned out. Next are these clay pins that I saw a lot of other YouTubers do, and I thought they were really cute, so I'm gonna make my own. I'm using some Sculpey clay, and I got a large block of it, and then a mild liner to use as like a rolling pin, and an X-Acto knife, along with a paintbrush and some Mod Podge. And then some of these pin backs that I got at Hobby Lobby to make sure that like you can actually use it somehow, and then some super glue. So to get started, I'm rolling little chunks of clays into balls and then rolling it out with mild liners to give it like a nice and even surface. I'm using a craft knife to then get the general shape of the object I want. And because I don't want the edges to be too sharp, I'm smoothing them out and blending things in to make it look nice. Another thing you can do is add layers of clay to give it some dimension, and you can like do this cross scoring thing to make the pieces of clay stick together better so they don't fall apart. So I made this paintbrush stand thing, which is cool, and then some of these other things. And remember to bake your clay at whatever instructions are on the back of your packaging to make sure they bake properly and they don't burn or anything. And then I'm just painting on them. So remember to paint with multiple layers, or one layer if you think that's opaque enough, and paint little details after everything else is dry, because you don't want all your hard work to just like blend together into a bad mess, because that would be sad. Here I'm diffusing the lines, the edges of the seeds by just tapping it to get rid of the excess paint, which is something you can do. And remember to paint in batches if you're doing a lot of clay pins to make sure you don't waste any paint. And then I'm using some Mod Podge as a sealant, but also like a gloss, so they look nice and shiny and don't get any scratches on them or anything. Then I'm just attaching the pin backs by using some super glue and just sticking it on there. I made these like Korean banana uyu and strawberry dagyuyu container things, but the ink that I used to write on them bled when I used the Mod Podge, so that's just something to keep in mind. But the rest of them turned out pretty cute. I made 2 of these of my cat, and then there's one random cat and some other food things. So that's it for this week. Thank you for watching, and bye everyone!